Henry Cavill's going to show up in Deadpool 3. Also, Venom 3's got a name now. Meanwhile, Marvel's calling off sequels for Captain Marvel and Ant-Man. You've got to admit, superhero stuff keeps evolving, and we're hit with big news. After big news, no beating around the bush here. We'll dive into all that in a sec, right after you hit like, and drop your thoughts below on whether you think Cavill can pull off a solid Wolverine. That's what several big-name insiders are buzzing about, after all. So, here's the scoop. Some very clear details leaked, making it pretty much certain Cavill and Marvel were chatting it up. The buzz didn't stop there. It looks like those talks wrapped up nicely. Here's the kicker. A well-respected source, the same one who spilled the beans on Guardians of the Galaxy 3, says Cavill's about to take on a Wolverine role, complete with a long brown coat. No more info than that. But come on, that's enough to make your head spin, right? Deadpool 3's set to have all sorts of versions of Wade Wilson, from a dog version to a samurai. Now, everyone's agreeing that the Wolverine we saw in the trailer, the one seen from the back, yeah, not Hugh Jackman. So, we're talking different Logan versions in the flick. Why not throw Cavill into the mix? He's been kind of left out in the cold by DC, said goodbye to The Witcher, and other than some chat about a Highlander and Warhammer reboot, he's not got much lined up. But there's this unresolved superhero vibe and a history of digs with Ryan Reynolds. Remember the whole Superman mustache debacle? Honestly, wouldn't shock me if they pulled off some wild cameo. Definitely not expecting to see Vinnie Jones back as Juggernaut, though. He turned down coming back, not keen on revisiting that dreadful costume. But here's the thing. Just reaching out to him sorta hints at two big things. Deadpool 3 is going to be packed with Fox's actors, and it might just be a redo of that massive 2006 showdown that everyone's been chopping at for ages. Here's the next piece of good news from Marvel. According to Forbes, the franchise has decided to scrap plans for Ant-Man 4, Captain Marvel 3, and Eternals 2. The previous installments of these projects were financial flops, and based on the publication, Disney has decided to nix the sequels. But here's a funny twist. The decision was made by Disney, and almost personally by Bob Iger. However, Kevin Feige, according to sources, is pushing back and really wants to release at least Eternals 2. But it's not just about these three films. Forbes reports that Bob Iger is pressuring Feige to move towards projects that are less risky, meaning no unknown actors, no intern-written plots, no experiments. Iger wants every Marvel project to be crammed with stars and financially successful before they even premiere. Considering such leaks usually surface after the fact, it seems to us that Bob Iger has already managed to push his strategy through. The evidence? The recent Fantastic Four casting announcement is all A-listers, which contradicts Kevin Feige's statements from 2020 about wanting to introduce new faces and develop their own stars in Marvel. Looks like Kevin, just like in the good old days, has lost his decisive vote in discussions about the future of the universe. Which, for fans, might actually be good news, since the entire Infinity Saga was shaped under the strict supervision of Ike Perlmutter. Despite Perlmutter's downsides as the former owner of Marvel, it's worth noting that he achieved results, unlike Feige, who, having gained full freedom in 2019, delivered a mediocre Phase 4, to put it mildly. Honestly, the universe now seems closer to an Iron Man 4 with Robert Downey Jr. than to a Shang-Chi 2. My Time to Shine Hello even claimed that Robert has already signed a contract to return to Marvel. This rumor, of course, is utter nonsense, but it sprouts from the fact that Robert has achieved an actor's lifetime goal by winning an Oscar. Downey fulfilled it and can now return to popcorn blockbusters without a second thought. Hence all the rumors, which of course you shouldn't believe. But it's worth paying attention to Marvel's shift from experiments to reliability, because bringing back Chris Evans would be much easier than Downey. The main thing is they don't bring him back like Michael Keaton in Morbius. In Sony's universe, there's a whole different vibe, one that keeps amusing with its odd announcements. First, Sydney Sweeney, despite Madame Web still being in theaters, asked viewers to forget she was in the movie. Then Michael Keaton burst in and slashed, saying he had no idea why Sony asked him to appear in Morbius. Moreover, according to Keaton, Sony itself didn't understand either. When the actor directly asked why Vulture was in Morbius, none of the producers could answer. Some think they won't even answer about the whole point of Sony's universe. Up until recently, there was still hope Sony would wise up and say, hire some decent writers for Venom 3 to craft a nice ending with someone like Andrew Garfield or something along those lines. The premiere of Madame Web shook things up, and Venom 3 completely demolished them because Sony announced the film would be called The Last Dance, which hardly sounds promising. When you're wrapping up a trilogy, there are two paths. One, create something epic like No Way Home and hype it to the skies, which is what Sony did with the film. Or two, just advertise it as the trilogy's conclusion. Let's head to the cinema one last time for Tom Hardy's Venom, suggests the second approach. And the fact that they didn't reshoot it after Madame Web's flop kind of hints that Sony's no longer thinking about any coherent link. They just want to wrap up an unruly universe, which, according to Dakota Johnson, was promised to be epic and unified. James Gunn could be facing a similar issue. In 2022, he announced a total reboot of DC to fix all inconsistencies and start afresh. By 2024, despite strikes, Gunn's managed to release a few mismatches on time, and there's still a year and a half until October 2025. Hence, rumors suggest that the delay issues run deep, perhaps even stemming from a feud between Reeve and Gunn, since Gunn announced a new Batman. The brave and the bold will be part of his new DC, which doesn't sit well with Reeves since it's clear that the studio under Gunn's leadership is shifting focus to the new Dark Knight so audiences won't get too attached to Pattinson. Now, James Gunn has big problems. He's releasing Superman in 2025, and originally, Reeves' Batman was supposed to come out the same year, meaning Gunn could roll out his own project right after, avoiding confusion for viewers. It would appear as though Pattinson's story had ended, and DC was introducing a new Batman. But with Reeves' sequel now coming in 2026, there's an issue. 2 standalone Batman movies will overlap, and Pattinson's will release amidst the new life of DC, making it unclear when Gunn should release his own. Releasing in 2026 might backfire as the 2 DC films would compete, and no one can launch his version in 2025, while 2027 might be too late. In short, changing leadership has changed little in DC. Even funnier, Gunn has declared that the first season of Peacemaker won't be canon for the new DC, but the second one will. Why fire everyone then remains a mystery. More clear is why Marvel's neighbors decided to completely reshoot Captain America 4, literally from scratch, since recent updates suggest nearly 70% of the original plot, including 3 major and extensive action scenes, has been scrapped according to IMDb. Due to poor feedback from early screenings, understandable considering the expectations set by Quantumania and Captain Marvel 2. The question remains whether Marvel can successfully overhaul the movie. They've cut out the Serpent Society, are inventing new minor villains, and expanding the role of Red Hulk. Yet, Adamantium seems to still play a pivotal role, remaining connected to the Eternals. The release is still scheduled for February 14th, 2025, and it will be fascinating to see how it all ends up, as the situation painfully reminds us of the Quantumania chaos. Actress Katie O'Brien, who played Jen Tory in the movie, described filming as a real nightmare. Every day brought new script pages, new scenes, and funnily enough, new fight scenes, which is odd because all battles are usually choreographed and polished in advance. Yet according to Katie, they brought her a new fight literally on the last day of shooting, leaving no room to talk about quality under such conditions. The mess Anthony Mackie found himself in looks pretty similar, but now, Bob Iger is in charge, seemingly a more basic man, determined to return Marvel to its peak. Deadpool's director Sean Levy calls Iger a genius, and rumors suggest Bob wants Levy to become the new Russo brothers, steering the universe towards the new Avengers. Is this a good idea? Let us know in the comments, and that's all from us for now. See you next time, friends.